Go.
No, it's not on.
I'm just waiting for you.
No, it's not.
It's all right, the vinyl edit this in.
The little red report light's not on. Now it is. Okay. So, okay. Ooh, some really good energy in here tonight. Just even coming over here felt exciting. With all of the reading about centering and prayer and the meditations and the spiritual practice, would someone like to open besides me with the invocation? Would anyone like to start that process for yourself of doing an invocation or a treatment?
You have a group of volunteers.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to do a brief. What? Would you like to?
Here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Pardon?
I'm just going over invocation.
Okay.
What I know is that there is only this one life, this one essence that is this wholeness, which is the purest of life, the purest of love, that's ever present within all that is, ever present that everyone who comes into this room here tonight, all words that are spoken, all thoughts that are shared, are of this one life, are of this one essence. And so I know that as we come together here, that we do this good work of expressing life so perfectly and wholly and completely, and it is beautiful. So with that, I am so. So it is.
And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. So we had a lot of reading to catch up to week 2, and we started with the science of mind, and then there was reading in the thing in the blue book, the student workbook, right? Everyone has one now?
No,
No, there's still a couple on the table, I believe.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of reading in here. So, Fran, do you have this?
Yes.
Okay. So the way, for people who haven't sat in with me before, is that I like to facilitate discussion and hear the opinions and the experiences of the people in the class, because that's the point of these type of classes to me, is to it's for us to all grow at the same time and to do that. And so I tell you my input, what I think, how it hit me, and then I like your feedback, because this is how I learn too. So this class isn't going to be any different in that process. I just really appreciate all of you who are here, kind of spread out in here tonight. So we need someone to sit at this table, please. You're the last one in. Please go to the front. No, I'm just teasing. Don't do that. Actually, today I want to start with this quote. B has generously letting me see this magazine. It's called Parabola? Parabola. 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 Thank you. And another book that I don't remember who by or the name of, but fascinating text, right in line with what we're talking about. And as soon as I opened it up last week, this piece came to me. Actually, it was a little bit, a day or two before the class, wasn't it? And it reminded me, and I've been going over it and over it in my head, and I've been writing about it, but it's kind of coincides with what we're talking about tonight as we move into a different, to enlarging our spiritual practice, becoming more of that mystic who is residing within already. Right? And so it says, repair the past, prepare the future. Do not do today what you have always done. It's just simple. Do not do today what you have always done. And it was so simple that it was like, it stopped me from different types of reacting. You know, if something will happen at work, a student will do something, and my first response would normally be to turn and kind of, and it's like, do not do what you have always done. And just, I found myself moving more slowly, more self-reflective, you know, and repairing the past, I feel like I've done a lot of that work, especially with the death of my 2 siblings last fall. Most of you know about that because that's why I was gone so much. But so I feel like I've done a lot of that and just a lot of that work, but it's that reactive phase that's kind of slowly leaving me now, and that's just exciting. It's just, and that do not do what you have always done is just so right on. It's like, don't go smoke, don't go, you know, I don't drink anyway, I haven't for many years, but it's like, don't go do that, don't get angry, don't do the things I've always done, don't pick a fight with people, don't let someone else's behavior kind of influence me to react. It's like, those are the things I've always done in those familiar behaviors, and that's what we're working on letting go of. What we've always done so that we can, be more of who we have come here to be, which is pretty much what all the reading has talked about this week. Almost all of it has talked about that critical listening, deep listening process, letting go of our preconceived judgments, these things that we hold and that we continue to act on, and allowing us to become more of who we came here to be, which is a manifestation of God, right? That's what they say a mystic is. Don't you agree? I don't know. I think it's pretty exciting. So last week I said something like, oh, I just had this, and I want to just kind of like, because I'm always, this is like, do not do what you've always done. One of mine is this kind of, it's not, I wouldn't know if it's low self-esteem, but I question what people think of me. Because sometimes I question the way I say something, and I think, I wonder if they took that wrong. And then I might even go apologize for no good reason. Like, Drew, I'm sorry I said that, if I offended you, I didn't mean it in that way, and you're looking at me going, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, right? and so last week I said this thing about like, you know, like, I find like I had this connection with the head and the body. Like if I was deceased, they would just throw my whole head and body over there, and they'd say, you'd come in and say, well, where's her body? And they'd say, well, her body's over there, and her head's there too, right? And that there was like this connection. But the point of that story that I think I didn't make, that I think I failed to make, was this concept that it's all one. And that sometimes we get these requests as practitioners to treat for the cold, when in a cold or something else, when in fact what we do or what we strive to do is to look at the whole being and know the truth of love and God for that piece, for that particular piece of energy standing in front of us, and that we're the same with that, and that I really, really connected that, I think, with all of this study. It kind of like hit me like, I'm not treating for this runny nose. I'm treating, believing myself to be healthy and whole and just that freedom of spirit. And I think that's what connected, because I think I maybe had a runny nose that morning or something, and I was doing that stuff. But I wanted to explain that before you went away thinking, I don't know why Kate, how she got licensed. Because I already know about the wholeness of the body. Anyway, so let's welcome the new people who weren't able to be here last week. It'll be, I know you, but I'd like to know your names. And so, yes.
I'm Brenda Hubble. Oh my.
Brenda Hubble?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you called me.
Yeah,
you left a
I
message.
did.
Okay. Great.
I
Well,
managed to be late on top of missing last week, so
no, it's no
I'm
problem.
over 2.
And you just moved there. Did you say something
Colorado
about
Springs.
Colorado? So your husband is
Kevin.
Kevin. Yeah. Well, and you're a practitioner. You're going to
Yes.
join the Corps.
Yeah.
Yay! Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I look forward to working with you.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you for coming. And David, you weren't here.
No, I wasn't. My name is Dave Grubno. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being. And
Mandy Carlson.
Maggie.
Mandy.
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 God, I know you. How did I say you're Maggie?
What's your thing?
You're not going to tell me.
Maybe.
Yeah. Mandy. So, one of the things that you all worked at, do you want to hear everybody else's names, or are you
I
good?
know. I know names.
No names?
I know names, I don't know.
You know
what
names.
else.
David, do you know people in the room?
Some.
Some? Would you like us to introduce ourselves, just briefly, so you
Sure,
have
if
a
they would.
name to people as they speak?
I probably won't remember everybody, but.
No? Okay. Let's just go around the room.
Breezy,
Easy.
Amanda,
Drew.
Drew,
Miriam.
Miriam.
Rick,
Judith.
Brenda.
Dave.
Dave, you prefer Dave?
Sure.
Okay.
Michael,
Michael?
Fee. Red.
Deb? That's because I asked her earlier. which-
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Fran.
Fran?
Cheryl.
And, no, it's okay. So, okay, so just so that we can put a face to everybody's name later, if you're talking, or if you want to go at coffee and say, hey, I forgot your name, then that's that. So, any question on Holmes? How many of you got a chance to talk about it, or think about it, or even read it, or listen to it? What did you think? Just that one lesson, lesson 5. Did you enjoy that? You guys were the only two I was looking at.
I think for both of us, yes.
I love that lesson, it was great.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it was just awesome.
Did anyone like repeat that paragraph to yourself later, or hear it again, or reread it?
I couldn't find it.
Okay.
So if you could just remind me.
So in lesson 5,
Yeah.
what page is it in that book?
Page 227.
Okay.
In that book?
Yes.
Okay.
right. The infinite substance within me. I'm just wondering if anyone else
It starts with
repeated it.
repeat.
I did.
And it ends in S.
I do. No? No one got to that. Okay.
No, I was busy trying to read the other stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. So the request to start a continuous spiritual practice every day. How many of you over the week got a chance to do that?
Oh, wonderful.
Do you feel like it's made a difference?
Yes.
In what way, can I ask?
Because I'm getting up.
You know, that's
That could
good.
be a major
I agree with that.
Well, because I don't always have to get up to do something, and so then, you know, God is nice and comfy and warm, and there's my dog. And
The dog
so
didn't
I,
make you get up?
no, I've woken him up some days at noon, 1 o'clock to go out.
So has it changed the course of your day, do you think?
Yes, because I'm up and because I'm getting up, I mean, I wake up early all the time anyway, but now I'm making myself get all the way awake and getting up, and because I'm doing that right away in the morning, I don't feel like I'm being in a hurry, and I'm doing it for each part for 15 minutes, except for one day I was a little bit in a hurry, so I did 10 minutes, but that's really been a big thing, to not feel like I was in a hurry and kind of skimping and getting stressed about it, so that's been a lot better and more relaxing. And at first I was writing thoughts on what I read and what came up during meditation, but then I didn't keep doing that because there was just so much stuff is coming up that I'm just writing what's coming up, so.
Great, good.
I have a hard time doing this sort of thing first thing in the morning because that's the time that I get practical things done. And if I don't start out doing practical things, they will never get done.
Right.
And so if I start out doing this first thing in the morning, nothing else gets done the rest of the day.
Okay.
So I have to figure out a way to when in the day to do this, because first thing in the morning just is not work.
Right, okay. I think that might be true for a lot of people. People have different times when things work for them. Some people work out in the morning, some people know that it's better for them if they work out after 3, sometime between 3 and 5. You know, same thing with this,
Yeah.
right? Someone else over here raised their, and doing it in different ways. So, you know, the reading, writing, meditating may not work for you. Maybe it's something else. I'm sorry, I thought I turned that off. So, someone else had raised their hand that you've been doing a spiritual practice every day.
Yeah, and, but I'm not always doing it in the morning either, because as soon as my cats know I'm awake, then they're up on the bed with me, and the one just licks my hair all the time. It's distracting.
Yeah, I know that one.
So I have to tend to that. But what my practice has been is when I wake up in the morning, then I do treatment to start the day. And then the cats are there, and so then I have to get up, and so it works out better for me to do it later in the afternoon.
Okay.
It seems like after 3 and before 5, there's kind of a lull in the day. I'm done with my busy day stuff.
Right.
And so then I can sit down and I can do the reading and I can do the writing and I can do the meditation, and that works much better for me.
So you reflect on your day instead of set an intention for it, which I think is
Well,
close to the same thing.
Yeah, but when I do the treatment in the morning, sometimes that comes up as well.
Okay.
So, and I've just been doing treatment in the morning when I first wake up for a long time. It's kind of a habit that I have, which I think is a good habit, so I see no reason to change it right now.
I agree. Right. Anyone else want to share? DP?
Well, I think my cats are the same issue. Like Amanda, what it's done, it's slowed my day down. And I guess it really has come up with a Nepo reading that I realize so clearly how my tendency has been is just to surf through life, get to the next thing, and do, without paying any attention to what's going on inside of me, so I'll never hear the voice within me.
Right.
So I think that was the big awakening, that this is something, if I do want to hear that voice within me, I have to slow down or else I'm just not going to.
Okay.
And that's the choice I have to make.
Good. Anyone else want to share about daily spiritual practice? Are people doing it? A daily spirit, okay, just making sure. Yeah?
I have the same animal issue, so I just pretend I'm a corpse, and I meditate with my eyes closed, and I just pretend I'm not, you know, if I move, I'm done.
Yes. I have the same problem with 3, and I get up, I feed them, and do my personal stuff, then I just sit down, and 2 of them fight for the closest position, and the other one sometimes jumps up and cries at me, but then he'll go away. But eventually, I'm writing like this, or reading like this, you know, because they're wanting to get in there. And I figured it's easier to let their energy in than to put them down and quit licking my hair. Quit licking my hair, you know, stop it. So, yeah, I agree. But what I decided is, they're most attentive when I'm most in tune. And I think I've decided it's not that they're trying to distract me, it's that they want to be a part of it. And so it's like I've just started letting them in. And it's pretty amazing, because then they settle down right away for me. And then it's like they're a part of that whole energy. And they're warm. So there is that. There is that. So I had asked you also with the beginning on page 20 in the Nepo, or I've been saying Nepo, because the long E, with an old following. But in this 7,000 Ways to Listen, I'd asked you to take that reflective pause and to do that meditation. Did anyone get an opportunity to do that? Did you find that this is helpful? We're actually, I love this. Like, who did you listen to? Who are the people that talk to you, right? Who's your lineage for this kind of listening and this kind of work? That's what this meditation was asking you to reflect on. Go ahead, Dee.
I really can't, I know that this 2 pages were profound, and I had them all written out in my head, and I said I was going to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Ha ha ha. But this is, by doing this first meditation, it has allowed me to do everything else. It's just slowed everything down, and it's connected me to that place within me that sort of knows, even though I don't know sometimes what the heck I'm doing.
Right.
And I did visualize, and then I wasn't sure whether I was doing Waddle or I was doing this class, and I said it's all one.
It is. It is at the most interesting level, right?
Yeah.
It's all, Barbara and I are just talking
Yeah.
about the same thing in a different way, but it's all on that same continuum. Do you agree? Really? Because if we don't agree on that point, then we need to rehash some early stuff. That it's all the same energy. I'm looking for that nonverbal nod from folks so that we know we're all on the same page. Otherwise, it won't be a fun class if we're not on the same page. Not for me anyway, because I'll be trying to take care of folks and make sure everyone's up to speed. So here's the thing. So Goldsmith, how many of you were able to get into Goldsmith's? A good 17 pages. What do you think of Joel?
I liked it. I liked it a great deal. It took me a little while to move past the Christianity aspect of it, and I kept on, having to get kind of like let that in and then let it go. But aside from that, I thought it was fabulous and reminded me a lot of in speech patterns and message of Ernest Holmes when I was reading the original Science of Mind.
Right. Was there anything that actually jumped out at you that you were like, oh, wow?
I dog-eared, I don't underline, so I'll have to review the page.
Yeah, I love those little puppies. I do. All of my books are dog-eared. The good ones, anyway. Yeah, well, Michael's.
Yeah. Thanks.
For me, it was really interesting. I used to be a Bible student way back, and I used to read the Bible as fiction stories. And then I went in New York to hear the Dalai Lama at one point, and I've never forgotten what he said. He said, if you like the teaching, don't become a Buddhist. Hold on to your traditions, because that's part of your life, and take what fits what I'm saying into your life and make it part of you, but that doesn't mean you have to leave your heritage.
Right.
And I never got it until now.
Oh.
And it's really true. I'm hearing those sentences that I used to know really well, seeing them in from a whole different perspective. Right. And it's the same thing whether it's Buddhist, Hindu, or whatever, that there is a thread of truth that is in every single word. Right. Whether you use, whatever the verbiage is. And I just love that. So I'm so happy.
it's almost like, decoding the secret to the universe. You know, I kind of feel like I should be in Star Trek or something. You know, like I found the clue, because that's how it feels like. That's why I get so excited about these books that seem so heavy, because they're really not. They're just, I don't know, they're just easy reading for me, because they just speak the truth. Yeah.
Speaking of which, and obviously this is all in context, but I think what I dog-eared was, it's on page 12. Always reminded, I am equally certain that all who wish to devote their consciousness to truth, who wish to die daily to their idle human thinking, wishful thinking, time-wasting thinking, and fill their consciousness with truth, can be healers. Always remember, now truth constitutes my consciousness. Now I am a law. Now I am an authority. Now I am ordained to heal the sick, forgive the sinner, raise the dead, and feed the hungry by virtue of truth entertained and expressed in my consciousness, specific truth.
Right. That's powerful, isn't it? When we realize that we're all mystics, that this is the power that each one of us hold as we bring it to light, so to speak. It's amazing, really. Like, we seek out each other for support. We can go, like, you know, I saw a practitioner recently to remember that, because that's what we're here for, is to give each other love and support. But the truth is, we're helping each other see the light within each other's soul, really. It's just kind of, we illuminate the energy that's already there, right? That's how I'm seeing that lately.
Maybe that's why there's a big space in front of you.
Maybe.
There. I don't know.
Don't go there, please. I was going to make a bad Christian joke. I've got to go there. Well, we've got the disciples, and we've got Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and Mary, and Mom and Dad, you know, like that. It's like they're all there.
Well, maybe you're just filling your space.
Overspilling or overfilling?
Overfilling.
There's a song from women's music a long time ago, spilling up and spilling over. It's an endless waterfall like that. Yeah. Anyway, that was Chris Williamson, if anyone wants to go find that song from the 70s.
I was reading Goldsmith on the healing stuff, and I found it's the same stuff. It's just like, I was reading it on YouTube because I don't read well, so hearing it is much more better.
Yes.
And then I got sidetracked into the Oversoul and the Power of I Am, and then it was a kitten video on YouTube. But I got back to it. But it's like the Power of I Am and all the rest, and Goldsmith, and then there was a Holmes came in, and then there was the Oversoul, the Thoreau, I think. And it's like it was just this amazing mishmash, and it's just like with Goldsmith and Holmes, and they've got that, you know, wash with a brush of Christianity and stuff like that. You filter that out. It's like it is literally the same stuff and telling, you know, different perspective, but the same chords in it. And I'm really glad that it happened because, you know, I rarely chase squirrels like that. I usually like to stay with something.
Squirrel. But isn't it wonderful, Drew? I mean, that's what got me so excited.
But it's like, I'm like, and all of a sudden, all this, you know, the Power of I Am, I'm like, all right, what the heck, you know. And it literally kept going in the same kind of thread, and I'm like, wow.
Just layers and layers and layers. And what I really appreciate about Joel Goldsmith here is that he assumes that we are already mystics, and he's just reaffirming that for us. And that's what I like. On page 4 in the second paragraph, he says, just think, this is you talking to yourself, thinking within yourself. You are not an isolated person, separate and apart from every person in this room. I am in you, you are in me, and we are in God. So the truth you embody in your consciousness embodies God, and all those who come into this room to be a part of your consciousness, and we are one. We are not 2 or 3 or 5 or 6, as we seem to be. We are one. I am in your consciousness, you are in my consciousness, and we are in God consciousness, one, all partaking of the divine name or nature. I love that. I do. I absolutely love that. Because then as I walk through the world, when I'm doing that don't do what I've always done thing, it's like it's easier when I remember that we're all one, that we're all God. It's easier for me to remember that, to move more slowly and allow someone else their space so that their own light can kind of come out in what they're saying to me. And as you all know, I teach communication theory, so my core classes, you know, I say that, but I have the most amazing, energetic classes, and other faculty come into my classrooms and they stand there and they like look at the very same students that they'll have in the next hour or had previously, and they'll tell me later in the lounge, they're like, they don't talk to me like that. And I'm like, I guess it's all in how you talk to them, right? Mm-hmm. It's what do you see in them, what are you expecting from them? And I think that we have the same thing with this faith, within science of mind.
Maybe it's the way they communicate.
And so it goes on for me, page 5 to 6. Remember, this is how I'll start your conversations. Each of you this is also something we talked about in Trower, was that you bring your own realization to the table. We're all at the level of our awareness. Do you all remember that scientific experience John tried to do do you remember that? He was trying to get the water to go into the rocks and it wasn't going, and he worked really hard at that. But we rise to the level of our awareness is the point of that experiment. And so each one of you who has been studying 1, 2, 5, or 10 years must have a mind filled with truth. Even if you have not memorized the statements of truth, you have the substance of truth, the knowledge of truth within your consciousness. And this authorizes you as a healer, a forgiver, a redeemer, one who sets free all who come within the range of your consciousness. Which to me says that all those who come within the range of your awareness at this point, that's on page 5 in the second paragraph, it says that same thing. If we repair the past, we prepare the future. So if we're not interacting in the same way, we've raised the level of our awareness, of our consciousness, and then we're moving more as that being of, I don't want to say God, because I think people misunderstand, but as a being of higher, of more enlightenment than we had previously, right? Because I remember in one of my first classes about 15 years ago, I think it was in Albuquerque, could have been in Reno, but the minister said, you are at the level of your greatest awareness right now. And I didn't understand that. And as an academic, I was like, that is not true, because I can read a book, right? And he was like, then at that moment, you're at the level of your greatest awareness. You can always raise it, but we're in the present, right? We can't control the future. So when we do these chronological timelines, we can only go back and forth to the past to the present, from past to the present, or present to the past. But technically, we can't go forward on a chronological timeline because nothing's happened yet, right? So we're always stuck right here. But in our cycle of awareness, frequently we're jumping back and forth and back and forth. And if we can stop the jumping back and stay here, then we're always at our greatest level of awareness as we prepare our future. Isn't that amazing? That made so much sense to me. I just like to share those little nuggets with you. So, and then at 6, page 6, realize that all who enter the room enter not a room, but they enter your consciousness, and your consciousness is filled with truth and love. And what that said to me was the whole piece about If I stand on sacred ground, then you stand on sacred ground. And if I'm breathing sacred air, then you breathe sacred air. If I see with divine vision and light, then so do you. And when I look into your eyes, that's what's reflected back to me, because that's what I'm seeing in you. And that's the ultimate for me, that I could do that one day without prejudice, with just free thought, that I could do that one day without going, I hope my hair looks okay when I'm on the platform, or the whatever.
Still.
Yeah, that thing isn't crooked, you know? Or, I don't know, just those things. That if I'm judging them in me, I'm judging them in you. Right? It's that simple in my mind. And so I say those things out loud, and then I get corrected a lot. It's like, watch what you say, because, that's going to happen. And I'm like, if it's running around in my mind, it's going to happen. If I can say it and then go, that's not the truth, then that's my moment of grace. I don't know if you remember last in the intro, where one of our members was like, there's a moment of grace. Do you remember that? That we say something and then we have an awareness, and if we rephrase it right away, it's like the 5-second rule of the Oreo on the ground, or the tostada chip. It's like 5-second rule before the cat sniffed it and licked it. Then we have a moment of grace. We can change that. I think we can change it in the next half hour, and as we prepare the future, we know what our intent is. I think it's more clear, it's more simple than just the 5-second rule. But I do think we have grace. I think that's true. I didn't think so last term, but I do now. That's why I love these classes, because you guys teach me so much. And then that's what we're on page 7. He's talking about it again. He goes, everywhere we go, we carry God's grace, because this is all sacred ground. This is all sacred. Everything is sacred. We sing that song, and then when we leave, do you carry that song with you? Do you remember how it goes?
It depends on which song you're talking about.
Everything is sacred now?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, you won't.
I don't remember
I
that
was
right
hoping
offhand.
you could sing it for us.
No,
Break into song, Breezy, come on.
Come on, Breezy.
if I could remember it, I would, but I don't remember which one it is. That's one we don't do very often.
Should we Google it? So the other thing he says a lot, and he repeats that in here several times throughout the book, is that if we take these words and we don't do anything with them, we just think about them, but we don't incorporate them, then we've done nothing, essentially. He doesn't actually say that, but that's how I interpret it. Because we then are just kind of lumping around with all of this stuff in our head. And he says, be a good steward of the word. And to be a steward of the word means to incorporate it into your life. And that's on page 11. And if you're a good steward of the word, not one that just hoards it in the mind and lets it rest there, put it to use.
Well, doesn't a steward also, for example, live by example?
Yes.
And if you're a steward of something, supposedly you're incorporating whatever it is you're a steward of in the way you act, or
right.
the way you do whatever. And so part of stewardship is setting a good example by doing it the correct way or whatever.
Yes, I would agree. That's it exactly. The correct way has, I would say, the way that you can do best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever the correct way is for what they're a steward of.
Because if it's correct, then it can be wrong. But if the way of living to the best of your ability with this word, because this word is sacred.
Gooder, more better.
Yeah. Let's say we can do it gooder.
There you go.
I like gooder. I like more better too. Any questions on this so far? Because we read up to 17 in this book. And on 14 to 15, he again goes to the level of your awareness, you are not going to accomplish any healing greater than your understanding of specific healing truth. So if I think I have a headache or a runny nose and I'm not treating for the fullness and grace of God as a whole, then, but just focusing on the snot that's dripping out of my nose, it's not going to change. Because that's not what's important, right? Because it's all God. It's all one.
That's just a condition of the cause.
That's, exactly, that's secondary cause, that's a condition. Right?
Yep.
All right, so on we go. Level of awareness, counsel of God, resting in the divine consciousness. He says, go to sleep with these words, because all night long, as you know, Barbara says this too, we're thinking it. So if you have a hard time going to sleep, I used to just say all the time, there's only one life. That life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now, over and over and over again, so that I could stop my mind from whatever nonsensical stuff was going on and I could just go to sleep. Sometimes I would say it and I'd look over at the clock and it would be 2 hours later. It was like, thank God I got a little bit of sleep in there, you know, and I'd wake up and I'd start again. And sometimes just go to sleep with the word, the truth, and it'll help at night. Don't you find that to be true? Do other people have things that they say? And the last one from was go to sleep with reciting your gratitude list that you had written from last summer.
I just, because if my head's going at all, typically I can't go to sleep. So the most I've ever really done is just repeat the phrase perfect, whole, and complete.
Yeah.
Because if it's more complex than that, it's going to keep me awake.
Right. Right. Like don't play Scrabble with friends before you go to bed because.
Kiss method.
No, I did my Sudoku until I can't keep my eyes open.
Yeah, numbers. Yeah. Okay, so anyone want to comment on what you read in Goldsmith before I move on to 7,000, and then we'll do some work in here. Just individual meditation work type things. Anybody else want to comment on this? No? Okay. That's a great book. It gets even better. It gets even better if that's possible. It is better. It is possible. But it is. Okay. Mark. Let's call him Mark in 7,000 because I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Now that Dee's been calling it Nepo and I want to call it Nepo.
I have no idea what it is.
Okay, let's vote. Who wants to say Nepo?
I don't care.
Who wants to call him Mark Nepo? Who wants to just say Mark or 7,000 ways to listen? There you go.
Mark.
Mark. So Mark, on page 8. This is a really good question. What does it mean to follow your intuition? What does it mean to follow your intuition? What does it mean to listen to yourself? What does it mean to lean in and really listen to that voice inside of you? And how do you do that?
Well, it's to learn by instinct.
And what does that mean for you?
It's your reflexes that you have no control over. They're the survival instincts. And you're listening to your instincts when you use your intuition.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good definition.
Well, I feel like you're opening yourself up to the divine voice within.
Okay.
That you're letting more of God come through as that still small voice.
Okay. And where does that come through from?
It just is. It's the voice that is allness of the universe is just there. But you don't listen to it when you're busy and
Okay.
and that intuition is just the voice of God. In my mind.
I agree. I think so. I think it's both in some ways. Anyone else? How do you listen to your intuition? How do we listen to ourselves to know what we're doing is a good thing?
Okay. I think we just wake up. We just got the books today because I had ordered them. And with the storm on the mountain has been delivered, we got into the box finally arrived. So I'm sitting here we're both sitting here quiet, which is unusual.
Okay.
So that's the reason everybody would want.
Is that it? But even without reading,
We haven't,
Mark,
yeah, this I can answer,
Mark.
what it is for me.
yeah, how do you listen to your intuition?
It's that thing that you know is not usually the way you think, not usually an idea that you have, is what hits you as, huh. But I've been trained that by a mentor of mine a long time ago. And that subject says, whenever it's something you know it's not yours, and it has been working great lately, I have been using it more and more. And even this week I was just saying, oh my God, if I hadn't listened to that, this other thing would have happened. I guess I know why that came into my mind now.
Right.
I just putting two and two together all the time more and more, but it's just hearing something that I know it's not the way I always think. It's no ideas I always have. I always have a lot of ideas, but that one is different. So that's how I do it. It
Okay.
works for me.
Good. Yeah. How do other people listen to themselves? Yeah.
Well, for me, if I get a feeling or a sense that if I don't do that, it's going to be a mistake. If I avoid that, or if I rationalize and do what I think, somehow in the back of my mind I know that I'm going to come back to this, and that's going to have been a mistake if I didn't do what I felt or sense. It's a sense. It's not really rational. You can't say A plus B leads you to C, a rational, logical thought.
Right.
But it's a sense that you have that if you don't pay attention to it, you're going to regret it,
Right.
for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't answer that question until I said, okay, how has it happened in my life? And I recognized 3 instances in my life where it's just like it's an overwhelming idea that comes to me from nowhere that makes no sense. I've never thought about it before. And if I then proceed and do it, it's been the best times in my life. And 2 times when I doubted myself and I went and I asked other people what they thought, I made a mistake.
Okay.
So it was very interesting. It has to be, and keep it within. It's almost like hold it within in a sacred place and don't put it out and say, what do you think? What do you think?
Right.
So then I start getting confused and then I've lost it.
Right. Okay. Good. Yes.
Dave made me think, if I don't listen to it, it yells louder.
If you don't listen to it,
If
what?
I don't listen to it the first time, it'll repeat itself and be louder and louder, like, stop that.
Right.
Go this direction.
Right. When it speaks the loudest to me is when I need to slow down. And you've all heard that story about when I was in Minnesota, but even today I was rushing out of my house and I had to go back because I forgot to empty the cat litter. And I have 3 cats, and so it was like, I thought, I'm going down the steps from my front door, and I thought, oh, they'll be fine, and I thought, go back. And so I go back, empty the cat litter, and I leave, and I had left the bag of, litter, used litter in the middle of the floor, and I had to go back up the stairs, back in my house, and then I got a phone call. And the truth is that I didn't want to leave. I just kept saying, I gotta get to work, but I was on a delayed schedule today. I didn't even have to be there till 12:15, and it was 9:30.
You were running early.
I was, because I wanted to get to work and get some stuff done. And then one of the faculty members called and said, can you come pick me up? Because she couldn't get her brand new Mustang out of the ditch. And I have a Subaru now. And so I was the savior there. But the truth is, I'd like that black Mustang with racing stripes. It's a pretty high car. But so is that it? Is that what the voice was saying, was slow down because I needed to talk with this faculty member on the way to school? Is that intuition, or does that border psychic? Is that what is that?
Border.
Psychic. We talked last week about the difference between a psychic and a mystic. Where do we stand on that kind of stuff? How do we listen to our intuition? Is it telling us something about preparing our future, or is it telling us something about who we are? What does it mean to us? Each one of us, I think, is going to have a different thought to that. So I don't know. You're looking at me like, what the heck are you talking about?
Who does the future?
Who knows?
No, who
Oh.
does the future? Would be the psychic, right?
Oh, the psychic knows,
But
can
it's not really true, but it's okay.
they impress thought,
Right,
right? So I don't know,
And why can't it be both?
yes.
It can, can't it?
Mhm.
Why not? I don't know. Can we really compare apples and oranges?
Yes.
Are they in the same category?
Well, and also too, who's to say that they're separate?
And they're both
Because
round.
they're both fruit.
Yeah, they're both round.
Cause it's all one.
Because it's all one. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, to me, when I've had what I consider insightful things, or I have been urged to do something, and I go ahead and I do it, things just work out well. Better than what it would have if I had not done it. So it's more of an urging to do, for things to unfold
Okay,
for me.
good, yeah. I like that. I like unfoldment. It feels peaceful and measured.
Yeah,
Right.
and I'm always, well, I'm not always, I used to always be surprised when it, would work out. Oh, wow, yeah, okay, this is what I was supposed to do, and look how wonderful it is.
Right.
Yeah, I did this, so then this happened. Hooray, hooray. Yeah, so when I'm urged to do something.
Okay. Yeah.
I kind of, with me, it's kind of like, it's almost like a mental pressure. It seems like I get guidance when I've made a decision. I don't really maybe care for it, but I made a decision, and then something will, like this weekend, we live up on a mountain, and that road gets kind of treacherous coming down. And I went through the chains that I had I got a 4-wheel drive pickup, but I didn't have chains for it. So I went in the barn, and chains that I knew I had, I got them out, and none of them would fit. There's a canvas bag that I see every day in the barn. It's got an old set of chains in it, and I didn't give it a second thought all weekend until Sunday night. And I got them out, and they weren't what I thought they were. They were good chains. And it turned out that they just fit my truck. So, but I had made the decision, well, Monday morning, I'm going down this mountain with or without chains. I'm going to get out of here.
Right.
I don't like to be stuck anywhere, even home. And so it was when I made that decision, the thought came to me, what about that canvas bag? And I thought, yeah. And I saw it every day, and that thought had not occurred to me until I made that decision. I didn't feel quite comfortable with it, because it could be kind of, treacherous going down there. But it turned out great, And, and I got to thinking about it. Well, I could have made it here Sunday if I'd had those chains, if I'd have put them on the truck, if I'd realized it, but for some reason, they were not in my awareness.
Right.
So, what might have happened if I, so, it's all speculation, but, but I believe I was guided.
Right. Yeah, mighta, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that, and then it happens at the right time.
Yeah.
Right. Before we continue with this, because we're going to use Nepo and do a meditation as well, so let's go ahead and take our break. And do you want a full 15, or do you only want to do 10? What do you?
10.
10's fine.
10 is good?
Does anybody need to buy books?
I do.
Okay, so let's come back by 5 after, and great, ready,
Go.
go. We didn't go.
Are we doing that again?
Okay, so I don't have to go through all of that again in my little dance, but Maybe we will do the 15th so that we can get that socializing out. Because it does seem to be a nice break, because we're, the information. So, the other thing that he says, Mark, he was also asking us, he asks a lot of questions about how do you listen to yourself. And another one that I like is, how do you honor yourself? What do you do? How do you honor yourself? Not only how do we listen to ourselves and lean in to life, because he says, you know, say yes to the unfamiliar, which is kind of like where we started. Do something different than what you've done before. So how do you say yes to those new experiences that are so difficult? That's another question he asks. So how do you honor yourself? Yes?
For me, it's just being kind and gentle and patient.
Okay.
Because there were many years that I was not honoring myself, and I found that those were the characteristics that I was lacking most. So that doing those kinds of things then gives me the impression and the feeling that everything is okay, regardless of any outward appearance at the time.
Okay. Good. Sure, were you going to say?
So for me, honoring myself is less about saying yes and more about saying no.
Okay.
About saying no to things that I don't really want to do. Instead of just saying yes to do them. If it's something that I don't want to do, I give myself permission to say no.
Okay. How about other people? Yes.
It goes along with what you just said with what I was going to say, is by doing the things and feel good, is that guidance system that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't feel good, and I think by wanting to be self-employed from the beginning, I tried a job one day and that was the end of that. And it's because I do things at my own time and when I feel it's right.
Right.
And sometimes I said, I'm going to do this, and I change my mind. And it's okay, even though some people around me don't understand that, but so that is it. And also, you know, follow your bliss, like Joseph Campbell said. Because
Okay.
follow your bliss and everything. So that's how I honor myself. Try to, doesn't always get done that way, but.
Okay. Oh, yeah, David.
For me, honoring myself would trusting myself to overcome the fear that I'll look foolish to other people.
Okay.
Just letting it go.
Okay. How do you honor the center when you come? Let's just take it to a different kind of context. Because when we think about honoring ourselves, I think we think about self-care often in that sense. So if we were honoring ourselves much like we honor the sanctuary when we walk into it, we're quiet, we're a little more reverent, we don't swear. You know, people who are loud, we kind of look. Even the kids, you know, who I love listening to the kids in the sanctuary, you know, they just crack me up. But, you know, it's like little things like we do. We're different to Barbara and John in the sanctuary. How do we honor ourselves in the same way that we would honor walking into the sanctuary? If you take that to that kind of Christian interpretation that we are the sanctuary of God and we're equally as sacred here as we are in there, then how do we honor ourselves in spirit that way?
Can you put that?
Yeah, Drew?
Well, to me, I think it's not just honoring yourself, it's being kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and giving yourself that space of that you would give to another, and that respect and kindness and love to yourself, because this is all inner work. It's maybe, yes, outer touchings and appearances, whatever, but it's all inner work. And for me, this is really tough emotional stuff. And
Yeah.
stuff will just come up like crazy for me out of the blue, and I'm like, and then I'll spin out for a little while, you know, how am I don't even know what I'm feeling, let alone thinking, and then I'll come back to center, but it's like, well, okay. So, I mean, for me, I have to allow myself, you know, in honoring myself, I honor everybody else.
Okay.
Because if I'm not centered, if I'm not okay with me, I'm not gonna be okay with anybody else.
Right. Right. And look at it, sometimes like, how do we treat ourselves as sacred? If we are sacred, if our word is sacred, if our life is sacred, if we have the light of being sacred and we stand on sacred ground and we breathe sacred air, right? Then how do we treat ourselves as sacred? Yes, what were you gonna say?
Well, I did mirror work for a while.
Uh-huh. Does
And-
everyone know what that is?
No.
Okay, I just wanna make sure, yeah?
And it was during a class that I was taking where we were talking about being one with God and that we are expressions of the one. And it hit me how some of the things that I say to myself, the mean things that I say to myself or the things that I do, would I really talk to the divine that way? So sometimes if I'm getting in that loop, then I correct myself and say, would you speak to the divine that way? So I
Right.
treat myself in a more sacred manner.
That's a really good point. I like that. I haven't actually said that to myself, even though I've been saying this. It's like, I don't actually say, but I say that to the divine. But I walk in there and say the things like that to Barbara and John, who I think are like pretty sacred.
Well, what goes
They
like,
do. They're like
Well, if you just,
out there, you know, in all their glory, whatever people think of it. I'm like, what a role model, really, that we can have all this and all that love at the same time.
Yeah.
Love that.
and for me,
Mm-hmm.
if I wouldn't say it to a child or a revered elder or that kind of thing, it's like, why am I talking to myself this way? Why am I treating myself this way?
Right.
Because honestly, for most of my life, I've treated myself like I'm a doormat. And I've learned that treating myself better, I treat other people better, and it just blossoms from there. And what a concept when you actually put it into practice.
Right. Right. Yes, I was just talking about something similar at dinner with Melissa Rowe earlier.
yeah, because if you treat everyone with, you know, respect and kindness, as opposed to treating them like a doormat or whatever, you know, it's the type of thing you're gonna get reflected back at you too. Not just, you know, you're doing it for your own head, but it's what's gonna get reflected back at you also.
Right. So that kind of goes to that, so we have those moments of grace where we can change that. Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, lately I've been aware too that, you know, it's not just my self-talk, you know, in my head, but it's like I've become aware that I've gotten so good at it. It's like riding a bike. I don't have to necessarily consciously run it through my mind, because I stop occasionally and I think, what am I thinking of myself? How do I see myself?
Right.
You know, and it's kind of surprising. You know, well, I'm really not, I'm not that way. Why do I think of myself like this?
Right.
You know, it's how I feel about myself, but it, you know, I've run it through my head so many times I don't have to consciously think about it. You know, if I do something and I think, you idiot, you know, I can catch that real easy.
Right.
But it's that underlying current.
Right.
You know.
Right. It reminds me, how many of you are going to Rob Morgan's stuff on Wednesday nights? Almost everybody? Yeah. Do you feel like your energy field is shifted as you're going, just attending on a Wednesday night? Holding the high watch is just the most amazing experience, to be up there with that energy and to meditate with that. It's changed my life, honestly, it has. And the practitioners, we get a chance to work with him before it got public that he was going to be here. And other people did too, I know. And but when I was one of the people he asked to come into the chair, and I was kind of like, he goes, I wasn't doing well that day. I had just found out that you all know, my brother and my sister died within a week of each other in November at the holiday. And then I get back, and then a good friend of mine was killed by his girlfriend. And it was major news because he worked at WLOS and stuff, so many people had heard about it. But Tim Fry was a friend of mine, and so I was dealing with that. That morning I had found out Tim had been shot that night before. And so, but I had said I'd come to the center, so I come drudging into the center, and I have on this bright Minnesota sweatshirt, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just sad. And then Rob goes around, he keeps looking at me, and he keeps looking at me, and I just kind of look back. And I was the last of the 5, and he goes, all right, Miss Minnesota, into the magic chair. And I was like, I said, that's Dr. Minnesota. And he goes, then get in the chair. And it's just, I knew I was being an ass, you know, but it was like, I don't want to play, you know. And he put his hand, like he goes to the kidneys, and the first place he put it was right here, and he said, you are loved. And I started crying. And he said, I want you to say it again. Say it. And I said, I am loved. He goes, no. He goes, it's not a question. It's a statement, right? He says, say it again. I was like, I am loved. And he goes, say it again. I am loved. Say it again. And so he was like, and then he's like, what's next? And I said, I am powerful. He goes, no. It's not a question. So say it again. And that's all he did with me. But that reframe, it's like what you were saying, it's kind of like I start going into this stuff with family, and I'm like, that stuff, that's not true. I am loved. I am loved. I am loved. Right? And it's just, it's almost becoming that quick, that energy, that shifted for me. And then a week later, it was just getting me down. Really, some stuff had happened. A lot, what I was perceiving as disrespect and all of this, and I didn't know what to do, and I kept saying, I am loved, I am powerful, I know this is the truth of me. And I thought, damn it, I didn't know what to do, so I just drove to the center. And John happened to be the person here, and I was, you know, secretly I think I was hoping for Barbara. It doesn't matter, right? John is my teacher, and formally he was my teacher. And I went in, and the way he listened was amazing. And he listened, and he listened, and he listened, and then he was like, you know how John does this stuff, and then he goes, sometimes we just got to cut our losses and know that we are loved. And it was like, of course, that's the answer. I don't need to figure this stuff out. I can just step away. I can just step away. I don't know why I'm still involved in all of this stuff, right? Because I want to be loved, because I want to be treated with respect, but it's like, maybe they will one day, maybe they won't, but just walk away. We can just walk away. And we can do that with love. That's the thing, right? If I am loved, then they are loved. And all of that, what we were talking about in the very beginning, came back to me. It was like, of course. And when I left here after about 45 minutes with John, and that's really about the only thing he said to me, is sometimes we just got to cut our losses and know we are loved. Oh. Thank you. I know why I've asked you to be my teacher. Anyway, so it goes to that. Sometimes it's more than the 5-second rule, I think. Sometimes it's like 24 hours or longer. And you get into these places, and it doesn't mean anything except that we have another opportunity to learn and to grow from that experience. do something different than what we would have done before. So I came here, that was totally different. Yeah.
I have a similar way, I guess, and I would I would look back, or something would just trigger something, and oh, and then this, and then that, and the whole and the life is against me, boy, it'll really spin out. But it used to be, like 2 years ago, I would spin out for a week, 2 weeks, I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody, I hate everyone, and, you know, and now, instead of 2 weeks, it's like maybe an hour. And then I'll go shake it out and wait a little stop. Take a breath. You know, I've got that inner monologue going, hey, cut it out, stop.
Right.
And then, oh yeah, I'm that powerful spirit king, and I'm loved and blah, 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 and divine and everything else. Huh. All right then.
Right.
That other stuff really doesn't matter.
Right. And I'm a firm believer that instead of just beating ourselves up in silence, especially in this spiritual teaching, we need to voice it. I mean, you know, you're going to believe what we all believe. You know, there's a big current here that says, make sure you have all the words right. You know, don't talk negatively about yourself. Oh, if you think about it that way, that's the way it's going to be, because, you know, your word is the law, and law is sacred, blah, blah, all of that. And the truth is that we're still human. And we can never live to that expectation. We can only improve at our level of awareness, right back to where we started tonight. We can only start from where we are, raise it in the present moment. And so, you know, if we're walking around in muck, well, you know, yay. You know, Barbara says, what a great opportunity to learn. Have any of you really gone to Barbara with a big issue? And she really doesn't care. Like, she doesn't. But she loves you, and she loves you enough to let you wallow around, and then she's like, and what are you going to do? Like John, sometimes you just cut your losses, right? You can be there, and we can lift ourselves out. There with no harm, no foul. That's the point of this teaching, I think. Everything is good. That's where we're going to go. So do you remember your intention from last week? I asked you to write after this meditation what your intention for the class was, how you were going to go forward from here, what you needed to do in the meditation to help that intention manifest or to come true, or however you think of it, to work for you, what you needed to let go of in order for it to help move through. You all have that, and if you weren't here, that's what we did. We did about a 10, 12-minute meditation, which started out to be a 5. How many of you know that it went that long? Did it feel that long? It was quite a surprise to me that we were able to do that. But tonight we're going to do something similar, but it's going to be the meditation from page 26 here. I'll go ahead and do that. We'll put the lights down again. Find a comfortable space and relax. And so I just tell you the page so that you can go back to it later if you want to do it again. It's a very soft, gentle meditation.
It's easier if you leave those on.
I'm just going to turn it down just a little bit, like as much as they can. Is that all right?
Wait, you want to turn these down?
What about these? Can these go and leave these up?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that too much?
Well, you have to go turn them on.
I have to turn it back up. Okay.
Okay, that should work.
You want that back one up?
I don't know if the guys in the back will be able to see their paper if they're writing.
They don't, oh, how dark will it be?
I don't have it. Yeah.
How's that? Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Generally.
All right.
Kate, you want me to stop taping for now?
No, they want us to leave it up.
Okay, okay.
So you don't have to write maybe at the end, but I would just encourage you to relax. Just sit back, feel the safety of the chair you're sitting in, knowing that it's holding you, that it's strong. Just relax your back. Let's breathe, take a deep breath. and release. And again, just breathe in. And feel those muscles and just kind of shake them out in the chair and just relax back. Exhale. And breathe. And center yourself. I invite you to think of your intention that you wrote. Just loosely let it sit there. And feel your breathing, feel your breath. Let it rise like a tide, like an ocean wave, and recede. Just easy. And when those thoughts come in, just say hello and let them go again. Doesn't matter what the thought is. Just say hello. And breathe, and as you exhale, release it and let it go like a wave receding from the beach. You're breathing in the breath of God. Let that wave touch you and let it bring to you something new. Could be anything. Just focus on the breath. What is it in your life that's new? What would you like to see? What would you like to feel? You breathe that in effortlessly, like the waves. Feel yourself drifting. Just bring yourself back to the beach with the wave, with your breath. Just focus. Ask yourself, how can I lean in to what is new? How do I say yes to what is not known? exhale God, because you are. Just feel that power, that love. And when you're ready, just come back slowly and write down any thoughts about this, about leaning into life. You guys need the light on? Or are you good? Ready for a little more light? Okay. So this is what I'm going to ask you to remember over the next week as you go through the readings.
I'm trying to find at least intrusive light, it's impossible.
When you're doing high watch, that's the most distracting thing, is when they raise or lower the lights. That's the one thing that'll pull me right back out to the room to like, what's going on? It's the lights for me. Other people it's sounds, but for me it's the change in lights. I think that's interesting because my eyes are closed and I can feel everything shift. Everything shifts in the light, right? Anyway, so that was supposed to be some kind of great moment. One day they'll say that about me. So the thing is, on page 29 of 7,000 Ways to Listen, he talks about the one breath. The one breath. And this comes up in so many things that I've read over the last few years. You breathe in God, you release the unknown. You breathe in God, and eventually you're releasing God. You're breathing in love, you release love. But in the beginning, it was like, for me, it was like, okay, I breathe in God and I release fear. I breathe in God, I release that pain in my back. I breathe in God, I release this judgment. And then it started changing the more I did that. I breathe in God because that, and I release whatever it is in me that I don't want or that I find fearful or challenging or just not right in my world. And Mark says it too. He says, breathing in and breathing out the one breath of the universe. This is listening with our entire being. All of the traditions suggest that breathing the one breath is our deepest home. That's what takes us home is recognizing the one breath as we breathe in. And that's why in meditation we focus on the breathing. Right? So this is your thing. This is what I'm going to charge you with this week. And in addition to reading, work some of the things that Mark Nepo is suggesting. When he says table talk, look at those and find one, because I looked through that book and when I was reading it, and most of those didn't appeal to me. And then all of a sudden one would jump out at me and I'd call a friend and I'd say, what do you think about this? And I could probably tell you early on which ones that was because I tag everything. And
now where is that at that you're talking about?
just the one breath is on page 129, or it's on page 29, not 129. Like, speak of a time when you sensed the presence of life and death in the same moment, or speak of a time when you were able to move more fully in the presence of a friend or a loved one and it surprised you. Or, you know, these table talk things, we have a small group that will go through some of these. Tell the story of a moment when giving and receiving seemed indistinguishable and what this moment has taught you. Who taught you how to receive? And how have you received their teaching? Those are the questions that I'm asking you to ask yourself and to talk to other people about. What is your lineage of listening? Who taught you how to listen? Who have you listened to? Who would you like not to listen to anymore? Right? Cut your losses type of thing. Who are you? You're a mystic. In this class, we are mystics. And so how do we be mystics? We have a daily spiritual practice, whatever that looks like to you. You're going to work with these table talk questions in the next section. Some of them are really good. You're going to like them, I think. You're going to read and do whatever work they're requesting in the student workbook and come back. And start thinking of your the person, the mystic in that list that you would like to talk about. And let's see if we can sign up for those. Maybe not next week, but soon. I also have a question for you. Who feels a kinship to Rumi? Do you? In the 6th week is Rumi week, and there's quite a bit of quotes from Rumi that you guys are going to get. If you notice, this only goes through week 5, right? Because I've been editing it and changing it from the center's text. So, I got to week 5 and I just gave that to Nancy and that's what we've got working with. But I'm working on that. So week 6 is Rumi. Lots of quotes of Rumi. But I would like you, if you would like to, Mandy, come and tell us about who Rumi was, the importance of him as a spiritual teacher and a mystic.
Like how long do you want me to go?
Oh.
Wow.
Well, no, I'm not expecting anyone to talk about anything longer than 5-10 minutes, if that might be too long, you know. Just a little bit about them. Why do we have these people in our lives? Why do we have a list of 40 names on one sheet of paper? And that's not even all the mystics that I know of. Half of those I've never heard of. And some they don't have on that list. They don't have any of us, for sure. I'm pretty sure about that. But, so, we'll do the offering. So you'll do that in week 6, so you know in advance now. And next week, I'm hopeful that we'll have that.
Really wants to.
Okay, so we're going to do the blessing and the offering. And what I know is that the love that fills this room is the same love that fills these baskets. And it's the same love that we breathe in, and it's the same love that we release. And I know that this love is the one true spirit of the divine that operates in and with everything. And anything that comes in the basket goes out. And it comes in with you and your breath, and it leaves with you as well as we go out, touching, speaking to, acknowledging all that is and all that is there. And I know this to be true, and I say, and so it is.
And so it is.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so would you like to do the benediction or a closing treatment for us?
I can. Do you
Yeah.
do it like a closing treatment, or is it
Or
a
you could do it as just a benediction goodbye.
Sure, can we speak like
It's
that
up to
there?
you. You can, it's not, I think we've already turned off, haven't we? Oh, I turned off the recorder already, so. You can do it from right there. Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.